If I can ask that everyone please get to your seats, we're about to get underway. We're about 5 minutes behind. It's going to be a long session tonight. You'll have time in between the council and the mayoral forums to chat a little bit more as we get set for that next one. We're glad to have everyone out here this afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the auditorium here at Ball High School. My name is TJ Alds. I'm with the Galveston County Daily News, the largest media outlet in Galveston County, and we'd like to welcome you all to our first forum of the council candidates this year. And we started this 2 years ago, had a great response, and we'll continue to be doing these through each election process. We would like to thank our co-sponsors and co-hosts today of this. First, the Galveston Independent School District, Superintendent Larry Nichols. I saw Larry here a little while ago. Thank you, Larry, and your excellent staff here today. By the way, how many folks here want to support education? Raise your hand, will you? Okay. So we got a great way for you to support some theater students. They've set up a concession stand out there to raise some money for that. And the candidates all up here pledged to spend twice as much as the next one up in Kona, right? Did we get that agreement from everyone? See, so they're going to make a lot of money here. You like how I committed you guys already, don't you? I would like to thank Bill Nealon, the theater arts director here. By the way, they are doing the John Steinbeck of Mice and Men for the UIL competition. They're going to have a free show here on Sunday for you to come on out and take a look at that. It'll be at 5 o'clock here Sunday, free to come on out. They compete at Dawson High School on Monday. So if you'd like to have some great entertainment, we got to see a little bit of the rehearsals the other day, so you get to come on out here on Sunday. So thanks to Mr. Nealon for doing that. Another important question that people are asking us, where are the bathrooms? What you need to do is you'll go out the back doors, turn to your left, go around the corner. They'll be against this wall over here. That's where the restrooms are. Please be quiet and going out the doors. How many of y'all have your cell phones here? Turn them off right now. It's a $5 penalty for every phone we hear ring. Oh, we're not going to do that. We'll give it to the theater arts department. The council candidates here have all agreed to put theirs away and turned off. We ask that you do the same throughout the forum. You'll have a chance to catch up with everyone at the end. This event is being live streamed tonight on galvnews.com. Video recording will be available on the website a little bit later tonight, so you'll be able to catch it and replay it throughout if you would like. Our other co-sponsor of the night is the Galveston Chamber of Commerce. I know Gina Spagnola, the Chamber Executive Director, couldn't be here this evening. She had some other obligations with Lemonade Day kicking off. Couldn't make it here, but she did want me to pass along their appreciation for everyone being here tonight. And now, if I can bring up our formal welcome up here, I'd like to bring up the publisher of the Galveston County Daily News, Mr. Leonard Woolsey, to welcome everyone here formally to our event. Leonard?
Thank you, TJ. Thank you, candidates, and thank everyone here in the audience tonight. I want you to know what you're doing tonight is important. It's an important step in democracy. Understanding what the candidates have to say about the issues that are important to you allow you to be a better citizen, to become more involved in your government, become more involved in your community. So tonight, I would like you to at least give a round of applause for our candidates for their offers to serve. And candidates, I'm going to call on you to do the same for this audience. These folks here are skipping dinner, and they're here tonight to spend time with you. Thank you. Thank you all tonight. Thank you for being here. May God bless you and your families. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Leonard. Appreciate that. Let me just confirm, how many of y'all here are skipping dinner tonight to come to the forum? Okay, good. A reminder, I've already said it, the Ball High Theater Department has a concession stand open out there for you there, so we want to make sure we support them here tonight. This is how the format will go, folks. We're going to have 30 seconds for opening statements from each of the candidates. Then we'll get into the questions. Each candidate will then have 1 minute to respond to the questions. We will then, at one point during that, have district-specific questions we will ask of the candidates in each district. The candidates drew for order of answering the questions. We rotate through those. The first candidate gets to answer the first question first, followed by the second question, comes to the number 2, then number 1, so on and so forth, and then we rotate through the 6 council districts up here. Not all of the council candidates made it out here tonight. Those who could not make it here did. Mr. Quiroga was unable to make it out here tonight, and also Mr. Dean in District 1 unable to make it here tonight. They both passed along that they had scheduling conflicts and could not make it here tonight. But the candidates, the rest of them did make it out here. So again, give them one more round of applause, if you would. Good. Now this is how we test out the microphones real quick. I'm going to have each candidate. They'll have 30 seconds for the opening statement, and a part of that opening statement, they should be answering to you why it is they are running for office. And from District 1, the incumbent, Ms. Cornelia Banks, will start off with her 30-second opening statement.
Is it testing?
Just go ahead and keep trying at it.
Testing.
Gentlemen?
Testing.
Hang on. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Bring it up the gain just a little bit, gentlemen. A little bit more. A little bit more. Keep them live, please.
Okay. You ready? I am Cornelia Harris Banks. I am an experienced leader dedicated to the quality of life in our neighborhoods. As an educator, I have devoted my life to children. Can't hear.
Hold on. My apologies, folks. Gentlemen upstairs on our audio board, we need to have the gain turned up on all the microphones, please.
Can I start again?
Yes, we'll be giving you a chance to start over again. We have lost our crew, I see. That is always handy. And trust me, my boss, Heber Taylor, is up there, and he knows nothing about an audio board. Tell you what, we're going to make it a little bit easier here, Ms. Banks.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me now? Okay. I am Cornelia Harris Banks. I am an experienced leader dedicated to the quality of life in our neighborhoods. As an educator, I have always devoted my life to children. As a council member, I have focused on Galveston's greatest needs: families living safely in healthy neighborhoods. As a citizen, I have brought my strong family heritage of service to focus on a better community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Taurus Woods. I'm a candidate for Galveston City Council District 1. I'm also a former city councilman elected in the year of 2008, which was very fortunate and somewhat unfortunate because of the fact that 6 months after I was elected, Hurricane Ike visited our island. At that particular time, I made promise to residents that was dislocated from the storm that I would do everything in my ability to bring those back who wanted to come back to Galveston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, gentlemen on the audio board, keep this mic live, please, sir. Now in District 2, the first candidate to speak, the challenger, Craig Brown.
I am Craig Brown. I'm running for District 2 City Council position. I've lived on the island for 17 years with my wife, Angela. I bring experience to this position, serving on many councils and boards and currently on the park board. But more than that, I bring a fresh set of eyes because I've never run for an elected position before, and I'm very excited about this. If elected, and I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I will work diligently for District 2, work very hard, and with open lines of communication.
Thank you, sir. Next up, candidate Susan Fenewald.
My name is Susan Fenewald. I'm running for District 2. I work in a research lab at UTMB, so my job has nothing to do with city government. I was on council from 2008 to 2010, representing District 4 and with redistricting, I gotten shifted to District 2. I'm a believer in fair, straightforward government, and when the city council started to grant huge variances again,
Time,
I
ma'am.
decided to run.
Thank you. Mr. Brady, go ahead and use the microphone that's right there in front of you, if you would, please, sir. Let's make sure it tests out first for you. Let's try it upstairs. Hopefully we didn't lose the crew again. Let's bring up the mic. Try it one more time, Mr. Beatty. There we go. And the next up, Mr. Richard Beatty. Mr. Beatty, 30 seconds.
My name is Richard Beatty. I'm candidate for Council District 2. I believe that the citizens of Galveston, especially all over Galveston and in District 2, have been seriously neglected by the current council. I think that we need some reconciliation between our needs of the tourist industry and the needs of our neighborhoods and citizens. We need a common sense approach.
Time, sir. We'll have plenty of time throughout this to get there. If you hand the mic on over now. In District 3, the first candidate to speak, Kate Marks.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out. I'm Kate Marks. I'm running for District 3. I'm running because I believe Galveston is on a cusp, that we really can achieve greatness here. We have so much opportunity. I'm a CPA with 30 years of experience. I am independent by training. Our profession requires it of us, so I do understand the concept of independence. I'm an islander by choice.
Time, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also from District 3, candidate Ralph McMorris.
I'm Ralph McMorris, and thank you all for coming out, and I'm running to represent the folks of District 3. A few years ago, after Hurricane Ike, we put together a recovery committee of about 300 people, many of you here, to chronicle our plans and for where we wanted the city to go. That was then incorporated into the comprehensive plan for the city, which was approved by the council in 2011.
Time, sir. Again, a reminder, it's 30 seconds for opening statements. We now go to District 4, the incumbent, Norman Papoose.
My name is Norman Papoose. I'm the incumbent for District 4, and I'm running to put you first. In the past 2 years, I've seen City Council put a lot of things first, but quite often the citizens of Galveston are being put second, and I want to serve the next 2 years to put you first.
And also from District 4, the challenger, David Hoover. 30 seconds, sir.
Hello, I'm David Hoover. I grew up in Galveston. I attended Alamo Elementary, Leavenburg, you may remember that, Weiss, and I graduated from Baha'i. In my career as a city planner and economic developer, I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of elected officials in Galveston, in Texas, and around the country. In my 26 years of experience being a planning director, an economic developer, and in infrastructure improvements, I believe that makes me
sir.
qualified, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you. From District 5, challenger, Diana Gonzalez-Bertini.
Good evening. I'm Diana Gonzalez-Bertini. I am a 25-year Galvestonian. I'm a 20-year lawyer, and I'm a trained mediator. I'm also a former city assistant attorney from the city of Galveston. I'm a proud mother of 3 children. I'm here because I want to bring respect, leadership, and the hope of teamwork back to City Council. Thank you.
Also from District 5, the incumbent, Terrell Tarleton.
Hello, I'm Terrell Tarleton, and I'm your current City Council rep from District 5. I believe I have a proven record to improve neighborhoods citywide by getting $1.2 million in a fund and dedicating a line item of neighborhood improvements in our budget each and every year. Now I want to work on our community rating system so every one of you that own property can get a 45% discount on your policy. As a community, we can do that.
Thank you, ma'am. From District 6, first up, the incumbent, Marie Robb.
Good evening, and thank you for coming tonight. I'm Marie Robb, and I am the incumbent for District 6, and I am running because my job is not finished. I am dedicated to improving and enhancing the infrastructure in District 6 as well as throughout the city. I come to the table with 39 years of business experience, and I am determined to see Galveston be the best place that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. So we'll now get into our question and answer session. Whoa. Ms. Robb, are you okay? Oh, Carolyn went off? Carolyn, you okay?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah, it's on.
Right,
the,
yeah. That's fine. Go to the end there. My apologies for that. Carolyn, are you okay? Need a little more time to gather? Well.
What a way to make an opening statement.
Yeah. And we won't deduct that from your 30 seconds, by the way. Good job. So, Carolyn, do you need a little more time to gather yourself here before we get going?
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
My name is Carolyn Sinceri. I'm 49 years old. I'm born on the island, third generation. I live here. I work here. I don't want to go anywhere else. I just felt that now was the time for my generation to step up to the plate and contribute to the community that we grew up in. And that's why I'm running for council.
Thank you. All right, candidates. Now we will get into the question and answer session of this. We will be starting with District 1 and then going through each of the districts in the same rotation we did here to start with your opening statements. You'll have 1 minute to answer. This is when you will start seeing the yellow light come on with 30 seconds left. The red light will come on after 1 minute. And we will start here in District 1 with the incumbent, Ms. Banks. And the question is, what is your position on economic development versus maintaining scenic beach views? Do you favor exemptions for building heights along the seawall and construction on the beach? 1 minute, Ms. Banks.
Well, both are extremely important. I am definitely for redevelopment, development in our community. And as far as our beaches are concerned, we do presently have a height and density ordinance for the south side of the seawall. Now we need to do one for the north side of the seawall. I'm not familiar. I know in the paper it said what it looks like in Florida, but I'm just saying that we need to preserve the beauty of Galveston.
Thank you, ma'am. And the same question now to Mr. Woods. 1 minute for your response, please, sir.
Okay, in terms of the building height and density program, I believe that several years ago we had a committee that studied that issue, and they came up with a building height and density program. However, I think that within the last years we have diverted from that particular concept. In terms of development, I am pro-development up on the beach. And if I heard your question correctly, you was asking about the beach renourishment. I am for the beach renourishment in terms of the working together with FEMA and the GLO with the $16 million beach nourishment program as well.
Thank you, sir. Now from District 2, same question to you, sir. Mr. Brown, 1 minute.
Well, the height and density study was done a number of years ago by the city of Galveston. Spent a lot of time and money doing that. It addressed those structures on the north side of the seawall. I think that height and density study is a good study, and it came up with a result that not everybody was happy with, but I think it was an outcome that should be supported. The structures on the south side of the seawall right now, they are not into that study. I think the city should open that height and density study and put information into that for the south side. And the LDR, the land development regulations that are being developed right now, they may need to open this heightened density study back up and address some of these issues on the north side also.
Thank you, sir. Same question to you, Ms. Fennelwald.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What is your position on economic development versus maintaining scenic beach views? Do you favor exemptions for building heights along the seawall and construction on the beach?
Well, since I said in my opening statement that the granting of variances drove me crazy, I'd say I don't think it's in Galveston's best interest to pursue economic development via tall buildings on the beach. I think it's not so much a case of view, but a case of too much concentration. There's beach erosion issues. The real economic development opportunities are in increasing the number of people living in our neighborhoods and paying attention to those people instead of building more tourist abodes.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question to you, Mr. Beatty. 1 minute for your answer. Mr. Beatty, if you can put the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth, please, sir.
Beaches in Galveston do not belong exclusively to us here in Galveston. The public beaches open to all citizens of the state of Texas should be kept that way. It is a tremendous asset, and I think it should be developed to its fullest. The revenues derived as a result of the tourism along the beach helps the city. We should have as beautiful a beachfront as any in the Western Hemisphere. Relative to height and density, I think when the people speak, government should listen. That ordinance is on the books, and if it needs to be changed, then we need to do the necessary due diligence to determine what it is that should be changed. Give the people an opportunity to speak on it, otherwise adhere to its requirements until we do.
Time, sir. All right, same question now. Ms. Marks, 1 minute.
I liked the reference in the newspaper to Miami. Miami, Galveston is not, nor will it ever be. We have zoning rules and zoning regulations that were actually reissued in January of 2014. Those zones allow us to maintain the diversity that we have on our island, which allows people to choose the neighborhoods and the types of structures they want to live in. If the high-rises were profitable, all of them wouldn't have had to have fire sales and bankruptcy proceedings. So people aren't rushing to build these high-rises. So I think our zoning is an important tool that we can use to maintain our views, to keep our beaches healthy, and yet still provide housing for those that choose to move to our island.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question to you, Mr. McMorris. 1 minute for your answer.
There's so much echo. Do you mind repeating the question?
Sure, no problem. What's your position on economic development versus maintaining scenic beach views? Do you favor exemptions for building heights along the seawall and construction on the beach?
I think in front of the seawall, there should be no further construction. The only area that has been set aside by the city that makes sense is the East Beach area. And there's sufficient land out there to take care of capacity for many years to come. I think the reference to Miami Beach is a good example. We don't want to build a wall along the seawall that's going to take away from the neighborhoods that are immediately behind it. What we've seen in Miami Beach is those neighborhoods do decline when they're behind there. So we did pass, and I was active on a heightened density regulation several years ago, and it's been usurped by the SUP. We need to eliminate that and go back to the restrictions which made more sense to the adjacent neighborhoods that are north of the seawall. So I'd like to see that.
Time, sir. Thank you very much. In District 4, same question now. 1 minute, Mr. Papoose, for your answer.
Back in 2007, I participated in the height and density study, and it was quite eye-opening because hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent. Thousands of man-hours were spent by both City Hall and volunteers, a lot of whom are sitting in the audience tonight, and went to City Council. The whole idea of the ordinance was to take out the SUP process, and that was requested by staff. An hour before the vote, the SUP process got stuck back into what had been negotiated between the citizens, business, and City Hall. I believe we should follow the plan as is. I don't believe people should be getting special exemptions simply because they have 4 votes on council. And my idea of economic development is giving our tax dollars back to our citizens and not giving tax breaks to developers from over the causeway to come here and build things for people that don't live here yet.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hoover, 1 minute for your answer, please, sir.
I do believe in regulations, but I think that the current process that we have right now is flawed. A system that's dependent upon variances and special exceptions and who you know or what day of the week it is not going to work in any type of a true economic development environment. It's not good for the residents. It's not good for the council being put in positions like that. It's not good for the developers because they don't know what to expect. They don't know what the answer is going to be at the end of the process, and it's expensive. As far as economic development is concerned, I think there are a huge amount of tools and opportunities that exist that we've never touched in Galveston, and I think most of the experiences here have not been good ones, which I think is the reason most people are somewhat distrustful and dislike the process. And I think that's something that could be remedied and corrected, and I do believe that there is room for more development. That's what's going to pay for our infrastructure and help promote the island.
Time, sir. Thank you very much. In District 5, Ms. Bertini, same question to you. 1 minute to your answer, please.
I think you have to be aware and find a balance between the beauty of beach preservation and also the need for economic development. And having said that, I would confess that I'm not really familiar enough with the procedures to know if they're flawed. I am a lawyer, and I'm trained to look at focus on issues and get to the core of a matter, so I'm sure I would learn that very quickly. Having said that, I do believe we need economic development, but I also think that people come here and move here because of the beauty of our beaches and their purity.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Tarleton, same question to you. 1 minute to answer.
Thank you. I want to let y'all know something. When I first got involved with the city, one of the first things I got on was Planning Commission, and this is where all the fights would begin. Both sides are very passionate about this, and it's unfortunate when one side loses and the other side wins, because it's all a matter of preference. I'll tell you one thing that I have learned is that nobody wants anybody to block their view. But is it fair for somebody who buys that property that's in front and spends millions of dollars on it for them not to be able to build a development that they were able to build, but now we change those rules and regulations on them? So we do have to always constantly update any plan that we have. And we need to bring both sides together, and we need to work through this, because I'm going to tell you something. We need to welcome development, but not at the expense of our neighborhoods. We cannot do that. But at the same time, neighborhoods, we've got to also accommodate our development. Thank you.
Ms. Tarleton.
Good evening again. I support economic development, but that covers a whole lot more than just our seawall. I think we also need to be sensitive to our neighborhoods. But in our zoning rules, having multiple overlays and for developers to have to do up to 50 variances is something that actually lowers property values. So I think we need to take a balanced approach. I too would never like to see Galveston turn into a Miami beach. But if you look at places like Clearwater, Florida, where they managed to even remove parking from their seawall completely by doing private-public partnerships, preserve their neighborhoods and really protect their assets, I think we have to combine everything to achieve the best goal for Galveston. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question to you, Ms. Sinceri.
Yes, with height and density, with height you need density, you need green space, you need to allow for parking. With development on the seawall, I would not be in favor of any more high-rises unless it was on the far east end of the seawall, because that's where the sand is coming in, whereas the west end of the island, there is not as much sand, and I would not like to see anything on the beaches. As far as the development on the seawall, we need to protect our neighborhoods. You know, we could have mid-rises, but again, we need to do them in a way that they don't impede into the neighborhoods, and it's in the best interest of the city.
Thank you, candidates. All right, now we'll go to our second question, and we will start with the candidates from District 2 to answer this one. So if we can pass the mic down, Mr. Woods, if you would pass it down there. And Ms. Finnewald, you'll be getting this one first. What can be done about the city's plan for charging for a fee to park on the seawall? There are some who believe the money has been diverted to the wrong resources and not what the voters had intended. Do you have a plan for cutting expenses and also to make sure that the money is spent on those public improvements that were promised during the vote? 1 minute for your answer, Ms. Finnewald.
Clearly, things have changed from what people expected. Right now, I think it's more important to let it run through the summer. I think when the end of the summer tally is done, the amount of money taken in will be much less than projected, and it'll be more obvious what we can do next year. Now, as far as paying the policemen out of the parking funds or out of the general fund or laying off policemen, those are your obvious choices. But I don't have any true words of wisdom that on which alternative will be less bad.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Beatty, 1 minute for your answer, please. No, goes to Mr. Beatty, then back to Brown. We rotated through.
Thank you. The people voted for seawall parking fees to establish a revenue stream that was to be directed toward improvement of beach amenities. It seems that what we have is a revenue stream that's going so many different directions that it seems doubtful that we will ever see any substantial improvement in seawall amenities. A cornerstone of paid parking from time immemorial has been convenience. And I think that's what we lack, one of the elements we lack. We require too much paraphernalia to be able to pay for the simple act of parking. And the system does not accept cash. And I think that we will always have problems with paying vendors to do this job when it's already been done so many times that it should be simple.
Thank you, sir. Time, Mr. Brown. Now you got, and folks, so you understand, as we explained at the beginning, we rotate not only through the council candidates who gets to answer first, but among them as well, so that the same person is not always answering first. It gets everyone a little chance to get in their digs first. That's the idea about it. So, Mr. Brown, 1 minute for your answer, please, sir.
The parking on the seawall plan, in my estimation, is not in keeping entirely with what the citizens voted for. I think due to no fault of many people, it just happened that way. And the Galveston Police Department has tried real hard to work this system out. I think the problem is that we have too much overhead in this system. Over $750,000 to date has gone into this system to subsidize it, to try to make it work. This needs to be changed, in my opinion. We need to have meter-oriented people or parking people, and not the Galveston Police Department doing this system. If I was king for a day, I would have no parking on that south side. I think that we need to look at the future. We need to go ahead and look at parking garages with a private-public partnership on the seawall to solve this parking needs.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, now from District 3, same question to you, Mr. McMorris. You get to go up first. 1 minute for your response, please.
Today I got to see the financial statements from the police department on the expenses for the parking on the seawall program, which a lot of us have been asking for months. To come to any conclusions about the current program, first you got to look at the P&L, where the costs are and what's going on. From that, you can then determine what direction you want to go and where you can either cut or cost or adjust or whatever. Some of the expenses have been criticized as maybe being excessive on the front end. The accounting is really different than you would normally do in a business. They're trying to expense all the capital improvements in the first year, and you'd normally spread that out. So at first glance, it looks okay. I think we need to bear with it. I think it's a good program that we need to save, and I think they're on top of it, and they're going to manage this program.
Time. Please, again, candidates, when you hear me say time, you need to wrap it that very right. You got 2 words. Look at that, if you would. Ms. Marks, 1 minute for your answer, please, ma'am.
Well, I voted for paid parking on the seawall. I feel like we need to have a revenue stream to care for that section of the seawall. We've got the trash, we've got density of people coming in. It gives us an opportunity to have a revenue stream for a section of city streets that we are maintaining. I think that it's very new. We haven't been able to have the experience to do the cost-benefit analysis. So some of the complaints about it are a little bit premature because we haven't had an opportunity to have any real analysis on the program. So let's give it a chance and see what comes of it and what amenities that we can provide.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question now up in the District 4 candidates. Mr. Hoover, you get to go first on this one. 1 minute for your response, please, sir.
I believe that amenities on the seawall is a desirable thing to do. We invite tourists down here, and we should have places for them to go and go to the bathroom, take showers, and those types of things. And it makes sense that they would be the ones who would pay for those amenities. And I think the way to do that is through the parking. I do not believe that the way that the system is structured now is the way that most of you thought it was going to be when it was voted in the first place. And I think it needs to be revisited, and I think it needs to be corrected. I am in favor of the parking. I'm just not in favor of the way that the funds are being used, and I think we can do better.
Thank you, sir. And now the same question. 1 minute to answer, Mr. Papoose.
First of all, let me say that 2 years ago I gave you my word on an issue, and I kept my word. And I'm going to give you my word again. You're going to get the amenities. We created a plan. We have to see that plan through. That doesn't mean we're not going to tweak it as time goes by. There's a saying that no battle plan survives the first engagement with the enemy. It's also true that no business plan survives the first 60 days of operations. I was in Finance Committee yesterday, and we're looking at the numbers. About $200,000 have come in. I don't think we're going to hit our revenue projections, but we can't re-budget until we know what our actual revenues are going to be. So when those come in, we're going to look at this plan again and fix it so we get the amenities that were promised.
Thank you, sir. Now for the District 5 candidates, and first up to respond to that question, 1 minute for you, Ms. Tarleton.
Well, on the seawall parking, I still didn't hear what the question is, but I think I get the gist. I think we made a mistake. Going back and really looking what the ballot language said, it really spoke out what it was for seawall amenities. And what we were trying to do on this council was to also listen to all our citizens by what they were asking for, and that was more police security on the streets. So we try to combine the two. But we've got too much overhead, so we've got to cut it back, and we've got to reduce that and make some changes now. Otherwise, it's going to be a long while before we see those amenities.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question now, Ms. Bertini. 1 minute, please, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. I think the adopted plan needs to be seen through and see if it implemented for at least a year, whether or not it's fruitful. There may be amenities that need to be seen through that have not been implemented, but that can be done at a later time. I like the fact that we have additional police force on the seawall, and it's actually assisted the park board with allowing their officers to take care of the west end. And personally, I would never apologize for additional police force anywhere. So actually, like I said, I'd just like to see it go through for a full year. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, and now for our District 6 candidates, Ms. Sinceri, you get to answer this first. 1 minute.
Yes. I was very much in favor of paid parking on the seawall, supported that issue. I don't believe that it's done what we wanted it to do. I believe that there should be other ways of paying for parking other than using an app or the computer. We have people that are coming to our island that don't have a credit card. Most have a cell phone, but they don't have a credit card to charge this fee to. I think we should be able to have areas strategically placed along the seawall where people could pay for parking. They did it in Bolivar, where they have passes, and I think that should have been looked at for our situation, but I'd like to also see it go through a full summer season.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Robb, 1 minute for your response, please.
Well, I voted for the plan and I support it. We all have to remember that the parking did not start until August. So we really have no idea the amount of revenue that will be generated by the plan. We have our first two amenities, I'm proud to say, going in. They've already been ordered. We have 2 showers that are going in on 27th Street that people will be able to come from the beach and wash off. And the results thus far are showing positive. So I think we need to give it a year. Undeniably, we may need to make some tweaks. This type of system is used throughout the world. And after the start, we have had very few complaints from people in using this system. And it was exciting to see revenues generated during Mardi Gras as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question now to our District 1 candidates. Mr. Woods, you get to go first. 1 minute, please, sir.
Thank you. From the information and facts that I have is that the parking fee and police funds should come from the parking fees, not the general fund. Secondly, I believe Dr. Brown stated that thus far close to $750,000 have been paid into this endeavor. And I believe that since August, we have only collected about $72,000, somewhere in that particular area. That kind of sent a message that something is wrong. Talking about retweaking, yes, we really need to go back and do that. In terms of the police, I think that perhaps we might need to use some type of parking attempts as far as writing tickets are concerned, and not take up our police time in terms of tickets and patrolling up and down the street, the seawall. Those parking attendants could be used as ambassadors to spread the word to tourists about other destinations inside the city of Galveston. So yes, we do need to retreat. Thank you very much.
Same question to you, Ms. Banks. 1 minute for your response, please.
Seawall parking exists. And the good news is that monies that had gone for all 4 of the officers now has been decreased to 2, and the other 2 have been rotated into the regular police department. The other is that I'm waiting for the high season, like most of you, to see if it's going to generate more monies. The other is I, too, along with you, are very excited about the 2 amenities that we have going now and looking forward to future amenities.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we get to our next question now. We'll be starting with the candidates from District 3 here. Ms. Marks, you'll get to respond first. Obviously, there's an opening for city manager at City Hall. So it's a basic question here. What are you looking for in the hiring of a new city manager? Is the current interim city manager, Brian Maxwell, in consideration for the permanent job? And how should the city manager report to the city council more effectively? Three-part question. You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Gosh, I could have 30 minutes on that one. The city manager is priority one. He is the CEO of the city, so he needs to be someone who can have strong leadership skills, be able to work with federal, state, and local authorities, somebody who could manage their department heads, to be an effective leader, to provide consistent leadership, and to instill confidence in the city council. We should be providing policy and oversight. The city manager needs to be a strong candidate that could manage the day-to-day operations of the city and interface with the mayor and city council.
And just real quickly before you wrap up, one part of that question is, would Brian Maxwell be consideration, the acting city manager, Brian Maxwell, will he be consideration for that job?
I'm sorry, I was at the meeting where he was asked if he would be interested, and he did not respond, but he was not precluded from being considered.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am. All right, same question now. Mr. McMorris, 1 minute for your response.
Well, I'd like to recommend next time you pass out some of this in writing because the echo's so bad in here. I put in new hearing aid batteries, but I still can't hear you.
My apologies to you.
So I'll answer what I think she answered. The city manager selection process really is very important. We have let the previous one go. We should upgrade the pay scale on this. We need someone that's got experience in running a city administration the size that we have, and so there should be a good search. Brian Maxwell certainly should be eligible for this position and should be considered for that and evaluated on that.
Thank you, sir. Next up, the same question. We'll go to District 4. Mr. Papoose, you get to respond first. 1 minute for your answer, please, sir.
First, I believe that Brian Maxwell should be allowed to apply for the position. I also would like to say that I don't think this city council should immediately take under consideration the hiring of a new city manager. We have recovery to do, and we have normal operations. I believe Brian Maxwell is going to work towards a solution where we're going to outsource, as I've been promoting for the past 2 years, the recovery operations to a third party and allow City Hall to come in and do its normal operations. I believe that we should hand over a city that is 90% recovered to any new city manager, because we're not going to find a city manager out there that has the relationships with FEMA, GLO, HUD, the private contractors we have going on here, and knowing all the recovery minutia that's required of the job. If you want that person, we just fired him. So let's recover and hand over a city that's ready to be run normally to a new city manager.
Thank you, sir. Same question now to you, Mr. Hoover. 1 minute.
I think Mr. Maxwell, if he chooses to be considered for the process, should be allowed to be considered for the process. I think precluding him serves no purpose at all. I think the type of city manager that the city needs is someone who's strong in public works and infrastructure and finance. We have a lot of issues, period. And people that have that kind of depth of background and experience do not grow on trees, and most of them have a job that's going to be difficult to pull them away from in the environment that we have. And I think that challenge needs to happen after the election, so at least there is some continuity with whoever would be considering coming here to start that process. But I think we need a seasoned individual, not someone who's young or someone who's in the middle of their career.
Thank you, sir. Same question now. Pardon me. Ms. Bertini, 1 minute for your response, please, ma'am.
You'd like me to address about Mr. Maxwell first?
Sure. However order you wish to take it.
I have no issues with Mr. Maxwell. If he would like to be considered, and the city would like to, or the council would like to appoint him, that is fine with me. I actually would like to address more the qualifications. I think we need a city manager that's strong and understands our form of government. We are a city manager form of government, and we need an individual that's strong enough to remind council that he's the one that's the management. And what the council's supposed to be doing, and it's not only setting policy, but just making sure that the city is running efficiently. He's doing his job, and staff's doing their job efficiently.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Charlton, 1 minute for your response.
You know, I really would like for you to repeat the question.
Yeah, sure.
I'm
No
trying
problem.
to guess because we have such a
And maybe-
back.
yeah.
It's hard.
No problem.
And so,
I don't have the echo here, but I could get. And
Yeah.
maybe if I do it this way, the crowd can hear me, and you can hear me a little bit clearer.
Oh,
right
that's
here.
great.
Does
That's
that help you out?
perfect. Oh, yes.
Okay, we'll do
Thank
it that
you.
way then. What are you looking for in hiring a new city manager? Should Brian Maxwell still be considered for the full-time job? And what needs to be done to better have the alignment of who's in charge, city manager or council?
got it. Yes, I definitely think that Brian Maxwell needs to be considered. He stepped up to the job. He says that he's going to make our neighborhood improvements that we just approved. He's going to make that a priority. So to me, that's going to be the big test of whether or not that he should stay as our city manager, as well as all the other duties that he's going to be taking on. And I believe he'll live up to that challenge. We do need a city manager that has backbone and not a puppet. That is the one thing that we have done in the past, and that's we tried to puppet our city manager. We cannot have that. Our city manager needs to act independently. He needs to work with each council member and help them in each one of our districts to become whatever we can become in that area. He also needs to be very versed in all our rules that govern the city, and also be proactive in our community rating system and implementing what we need to do for flood recovery and everything that's in at hand.
Time, ma'am.
So thank you.
Same question now, District 6 candidates. Ms. Robb, 1 minute for your response.
Yes, I think that Brian Maxwell should be and is eligible to apply for the position. Galveston is growing. When I attend national meetings as well as statewide meetings, everyone talks about the growth in Galveston, whether it's tourism or port. We are hot, and we need to step up our game, I think, when it comes to city manager. I think we need to increase our salary range. We need to do a nationwide search. The council sets the policy. The city manager manages. He is the CEO of the city, and we need a strong manager that won't succumb to special interests. Thank you.
Same question to you, Ms. Sinceri. 1 minute for your response.
Yes, I believe Brian Maxwell should be eligible to apply for the position. He has stepped up in an interim role, and he is ably managing the city right now. I believe that for a search process for a new city manager, that we need to look at someone that is a professional city manager, someone that has a background in engineering, in public works, has an administrative background. We need somebody to run the city. As everyone has said, the city manager is the CEO, the city council is the board of directors. The board of directors sets the policy, the CEO runs the city, and that's how it should be done.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question now. We'll go to the District 1 candidates. Ms. Banks, you get to answer first. 1 minute for your response, please.
Thank you. Well, Brian has stepped up twice for this task, and so I think that he should be considered. The other is that in the city of Galveston, we need to work on our pension plan as well as the salaries for the city manager. We know that this is a city manager form of government, and so therefore he has to know all areas of the in each department of the city. The other is that we, the city council, are policymakers and need to understand that you have to work with the city manager, or the city manager is the daily person for daily operations.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question to you, Mr. Woods, 1 minute.
Thank you. I have been attending Galveston City Council meetings since 1979, long time. And over those years, I sincerely believe that you have to consider the longevity of a city manager. So I don't blame Brian Maxwell for not jumping out immediately and responding to the request. Also, secondly, I feel like the city manager should be allowed to do his or her job in the day-to-day operation of the city. City council should not micromanage the city manager. And if a city council member should take an idea about his or her district to the city manager, that then should be between the city manager and that particular council member. Secondly, should we do a nationwide search? Fine. But think about it.
Time, sir. Next up, same question to the District 2 candidates. Mr. Beatty, you get to go first here. 1 minute for your response, please, sir. Give me one more second. Your mic needs to catch up with you here. Try it again, Mr. Beatty. Well, go ahead and pass it down. We apologize for the audio problems, folks. Go ahead, Mr. Beatty.
In addition to basic qualifications that all candidates for city manager obviously should have, the ability to actually run the city's business, the ability, the knowledge of city operations. He's going to have some other skills also that perhaps are not a part of the application process. He's going to have to be able to build consensus. He's going to have to be able to determine problems and offer alternatives and solutions to those problems. He's going to have to be a people person. He must build a rapport with the city council, but in turn, city council has to build a rapport with the city manager. It cannot be a test of wills between the two entities. We are going to have to cast a wide net to find a good city manager in light of the things that have happened in the recent past relative to how the manager has been treated.
Time, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Brown, 1 minute for your response, please, sir.
First of all, I think Brian Maxwell in this interim role and the position he's come into with the circumstances, he's done an admirable job. And I hear that all over the city, and I hear it from organizations around the city. I think the new city council needs to open up a search for the city manager. I think Mr. Maxwell needs to be encouraged to put his name in for that and be considered. The city manager here in Galveston, it's a unique situation. We're a population of 50,000 people, and we bring 6 million people on this island, so we need to look for a city manager that has strong organizational skills. The relationship to city council and to the city manager, it needs to be a city manager oriented type relationship. He's in charge of the operational activities. City council establishes policy. Look at the organizational chart. You can go on the website and it'll tell you and show you how it should operate, and we should stay with that.
And Ms. Finnewald, you get the final word on this question.
What can I say that hasn't already been said? Brian Maxwell should throw his hat in the ring with everybody else. I'm with the group of people who says that we should perhaps increase the salary and look for somebody who has experience with a larger town/city. Galveston is a complex place. We have tourism, we have a university, we have beaches, we have a port. For a city our size, we're very complex, and we should look for somebody who's used to dealing with a larger, more complex situation.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, we're 1 hour in. How y'all feeling? Yeah, feeling energized? Do y'all need to take a quick drink of water while we're here? Stretch a little bit? Y'all want to go? You can go ahead and grab your water. You're not restricted from that. We're now going to go into the district-specific questions, as I warned y'all about beforehand. We're going to go into the district-specific questions. All right, there we go. Thank you very much. I want to make sure they hear it first, and then we tell y'all a little bit later and catch up. I apologize for the echo. It is pretty bad when you get up there. So, and we'll keep in our rotation here. We'll go out a little bit out of the order because we'll start with one, go through. When we come back to the next question, after the groups had a chance to answer, we'll start with District 4 on the next one and come back over here. So just to let you know. So we'll be starting with District 1. Starting here, though, we will keep in our rotating order. Mr. Woods, you'll be getting this first. At least some of the public housing units that will be rebuilt in Galveston after Hurricane Ike will be built in your district. Do you support the mixed income developments, or do you believe the city should support the lawsuit that seeks to block that plan? 1 minute for your answer, sir.
I can make this very, very, very short. Don't need a minute. I have supported, and I will always support public housing. Thank you.
Ms. Banks, same question to you. 1 minute for your, up to 1 minute for your response, please.
I support mixed income. I have gone to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, and saw the prototype for mixed income. It can work. It makes sure that everyone who lives in the mixed income are all thought of the same. It is an area that will be immediately improved in our city, and that's it.
And now we'll go into our District 2 candidates to answer their question. Candidates, I'm going to tell you the question first. Can you hear me better this way? And can the crowd still hear me when I'm doing it this way? Okay, we'll just keep doing it this way then. Everybody seems to have a design on the Convention Center Surplus Fund, and some believe and contend it's being fettered away in small bites. What could the money go to that it could do the most good? And we'll start back with you, Mr. Brown. You get to go first on this one.
Well, the Galveston Island Convention Center funds, they are hot tax funds. They have certain regulations that they have to be used for. You're exactly right. In my opinion, they have been chipped away at. I think City Council needs to sit down. We need to determine a plan, a vision for this city, and we need to allocate and work out a plan for utilization of these convention center funds for the best interest of Galveston, and put that towards that plan rather than just chipping away at this and using it any time we would like, depending on what the request is. These funds are about $1.5 million come to the city of Galveston every year from these convention city funds, and I think they could be really utilized in a lot of ways, because the hot tax, even though there's regulations, there are a lot of areas that we have flexibility in using those funds for neighborhoods and other things, and I think we need to look at that very seriously.
Ms. Fennewald, same question to you. 1 minute for your response.
I don't see how this is exactly a District 2 specific question. But since they're hot tax funds, we have to use them for hot tax purposes, or so I've been told. And so we're really limited on what we can use them for. But we can use them for parks. We can use them for historic preservation, which we've never tried to do before. So, you know, Bishop's Palace is a tourist spot. We could use the funds to replace the roof, for example. So, you know, you can explore possibilities, but they are hot tax funds.
Mr. Brady, 1 minute for your response.
Any use of these funds, I think, needs to have consideration given to the citizens of District 2. We have many elderly, we have many disabled, we have a need for additional park space, pocket parks, but I think that, in my estimation, the citizens of District 2 have been left out of City Council consideration far too much and for too long. So I feel that any consideration for the use of funds should include consideration for the conditions, the citizens of District 2, and figure out a way to use those funds to enhance the quality of life for all of the citizens of District 2.
Thank you, sir. Now we go to our District 3 candidates, and Mr. McMorris, you'll actually be getting this one first. Can you hear me better this way? Did that work out? Okay. What are the needs of the downtown area for development, and also what would you do on council to help support the growth of Texas A&M and the Pelican Island projects? You do need your microphone, sir.
Thank you. Downtown has developed a master plan that would do an awful lot to improve the pedestrian access, the quality of life down there, and our emphasis on our spending here in the city needs to be increased toward our existing areas, including our downtown. Our downtown is one of our biggest assets, and it really is in the position now of having to kind of beg for income to make improvements. They're making improvements in a small way. I'd like to see our emphasis away from new development and supporting developers from Houston that have the latest scheme to really reinvesting in our communities and particularly our downtown. It's a real asset. As far as Pelican Island goes, it's potentially one of our biggest sources of new property tax from industrial development.
Time, sir. Thank you. Ms. Marks, 1 minute for your response.
Well, I agree with Ralph. The master plan for downtown Galveston has been in the works for a long time. It's well considered, and I think it has an opportunity to enhance that property. So let's see that through. It needs to be funded, and they're trying very hard to get grant money to do that. I've also attended the Galveston Economic Development Partnership meetings. Both the Port and Texas A&M are telling us that the bridge replacement to Pelican Island is absolutely imperative to their futures. When we do that, we need to be sensitive to the needs of Texas A&M Galveston. The roadways going straight through the university, we don't want to compromise that facility, but I think it is something that we need to work on and we need to figure it out.
Thank you, ma'am. Now to the District 4 candidates. Mr. Hoover, you'll get this first. Each district gets about $200,000 fund for infrastructure projects. Name your priority projects for your district.
I think the district needs assistance in drainage. I know there are times when the tide is high, you can't back out of your garage, me in particular. And I think that I'm not alone in that regard. I think also improvements to sidewalks is something that's necessary, and I believe we're not really even close to finishing as far as repairing damage from Hurricane Ike. And I think using some of that money in the form of some type of assistance for people who are struggling to make ends meet would be a good idea to kind of average up, so to speak, all of the neighborhood. So that's what I would do.
Same question to you, Mr. Papoose.
I agree with David. As a matter of fact, I spoke about drainage when I was running 2 years ago, and I quickly found out that if we want to solve District 4's drainage issues because of the tides, we're going to have to raise District 4 up about 6 feet, and that's going to cost $100 million. So our drainage issues we can mitigate, we can't cure. But the items I put in for the $200,000 neighborhood fund essentially address streets, lighting, and most of all, curbs. A lot of curbs have been damaged in District 4 because of the way the trucks came in to take out the garbage from Hurricane Ike, and people's curbs were destroyed. They asked the city to replace them. The city said, "Oh, it's not our curb, you own it." So I went in and used a lot of that money for to rebuild the curbs that were destroyed by the trucks, helping us recover from Ike.
Thank you, sir. District 5 candidates now. Ms. Charlton, you'll be getting this first. Can you hear me okay, ma'am? This time? The question here to you is, just here recently, the county commissioners who agreed to help fund for the seawall paving argued that this would be the last time, that it should be a city responsibility and not a county responsibility. What's your take on that stance? 1 minute for your response, please, ma'am.
Well, 1 minute's not fair. My stance on that is, while I appreciate that they are coming up and living up to their duty to give us the funding to do our paving, I do not believe that the city should be the one that's responsible for doing this from here on out. The seawall is part of the county's responsibility. They've admitted that, and I think they should continue in doing that. I'm not sure if that's what your question was. Is it? You said something about the
your
paving.
stance on whether or not it should be a county or a city.
Correct. I think the
responsibility or shared
county's duty is to protect the seawall. That is their job, and they should continue to do that, and that should include that type of paving, which is their responsibility.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Bertini, you have 1 minute for your response, please, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm not very familiar with what the county is responsible for versus the city, but I would imagine that the county has a big responsibility to maintain the seawall, so I somewhat agree with Ms. Tarleton, and I would like to look at that closer. But yes, the seawall has to be preserved, maintained properly, so if the city either can't or it's not their responsibility, it must be shared with the county.
Thank you very much. Now to our District 6 candidates. Ms. Ansari, you'll be getting this question first. There's been a lot of talk, particularly for the West End, about static easements. What's your stance on static easements, and should they be in place as introduced in one Senate bill? And if is that at the best interest of the West End as well as Galveston Island as a whole?
Well, you got me on something that I'm really not familiar with, and I'm going to admit that. I don't think that we should be considering this until we get more information. I believe that we have to protect our beaches, and I'm not sure that the static easements are the way to go.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Robb, 1 minute for you to answer.
I support static easements. Static easements protect our private property rights as well as it protects the public's right to enter the beach. Another key part of static easements is they would be necessary for doing the Ike Dike. Part of the Ike Dike system is fortified dunes, and without a static easement, we would not be able to do it. City Council actually approved the use of static easements in October of 2012. The GLO is actually currently doing a nourishment at the west or at the end of the seawall, and they are using static dune easements. So yes, I do support them.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, council candidates, we are trying to wrap up here a little after 7:30, so we may get 2 questions in if we're lucky here. If everyone doesn't take the full minute, plus you got your closing statements after that. So we'll maybe get this bout in and then see where we are after that. So we'll start with the council candidates in District 4 here. We're gonna, as I said, we're gonna go back to that rotation that we were using earlier. Mr. Hoover, you will be getting this question first. After Hurricane Ike hit, the council raised the tax rate, but at the time there was a promise to lower it when the tax base has recovered. Figures show that for the most part the tax base has recovered. What do you plan to do if elected?
Well, the first thing I would do is sit down and determine what the situation currently is. Sometimes promises are made and we all know that they're not kept, and I think that is clearly a problem. I think that the fact that the property values have come back is only one piece of the puzzle, and the other piece being where are the expenses associated with that.
Did we lose it?
Is it there?
It's back.
Okay. I think we need to sit down and do what we can to live up to the obligations that were made in that promise and see how we can mitigate the charges and the expenses that we have to make that happen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Papoose, same question to you, 1 minute.
The city council said that now that Hurricane Ike has come through, property values are depressed, so please allow us a 6-cent increase in your rate temporarily until values come back. Values are back. Last year, myself and another city council member identified at least 2 cents we could have gotten back of those 6 cents. So I absolutely believe that we need to give you back the tax rate that was promised years ago. That said, I don't think current councils should always be held to promises from previous councils. In this case, I support a tax cut. The money is there for a tax cut. The money has been identified of where it can come from a tax cut. Now it's only going to take the political will. And like I said, I want to fight for you, the citizens of Galveston. I don't want to see that money go other places in terms of economic development for somebody who doesn't even live here. I want to give it back to you and let you be our economic development engine.
Thank you, sir. To our District 5 candidates, Ms. Charlton, you'll get this first 1 minute to respond. Do you need me to repeat the question, ma'am?
Please.
All right. After Hurricane Ike, the council raised the tax rate but promised to lower it when the tax base recovered. Figures showed that tax base has mostly recovered across the island. What do you plan to do if reelected?
Okay, well, of course, I did vote to lower it, and I would love to see the tax rate lowered. I would also like to see that we lower the insurance rates for everybody who is on this island, and I believe that we can do that, and I have a plan that we can, and by doing that and lowering our insurance rate and improving our neighborhoods, we're going to get more people to live here, and when we got more people to live here, that means we're going to have more money, and we'll have more money for our budget, so that should be our goal.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Bertini, same question to you, 1 minute to answer.
Thank you. Council made a promise, and so I certainly believe that it needs to be addressed. But I just want to remind the taxpayer that taxes haven't gone up in 5-6 years. And if you take in inflation and the value of the dollar, in some ways there has been somewhat you could call a reduction in the tax. Nevertheless, it should be addressed and see if we can lower taxes.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now to the District 6 candidates. Ms. Robb, you get to answer that first.
I did not support a tax rate cut in the last budget, but I think as we approach this new year, it's something that we can look at. Can we lower it to the part that was promised by another council member? I don't think we can. We have to remember that our spending cap is tied to the percentage of taxes that we have. I think we need to be proactive to increase our tax base by diversifying our business base, as well as putting the necessary infrastructure in our neighborhoods that have been unserved. That would immediately increase our tax base, which would allow us to give a tax rate cut. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sinceri, same question to you. 1 minute, please, ma'am.
Well, I'm in full favor of lowering taxes, but I think we need to keep the tax rate as it is. We need to build our reserves for infrastructure. What are we going to reduce if we lower the tax rate? What are we going to give up? What are we willing to give up if we continue to drop the tax rate? We need to build our reserves.
Thank you, ma'am. Now to our District 1 candidates, same question. Ms. Banks. Sure. After Hurricane Ike, the council raised the tax rate, but a promise was made at the time that the rate would be lowered once the tax base had recovered. Figures show that for the most part, the tax base in Galveston has recovered. What do you plan to do if reelected?
If reelected, then I would certainly consider the tax rate. First of all, we need to adjust our tax cap. We need to look at the number of properties that have come online for the cost for us to have more taxes. We have really seen a lot in our recovery of the homes, and many of the homes, the new property tax have gone up. And so as we look and readjust what our taxes are, I think we can move forward with looking at a possibility of lowering the tax. But right now, we need to continue where we are.
Mr. Wood, same question to you. 1 minute for your response, please, sir.
Thank you very much. I believe the question boils down to, since Hurricane Ike, the tax base has recovered. Now, my understanding of the question, since it has, what will we do if elected? I think that the money should be placed into the infrastructure. We simply need to do something about our city in terms of street, drainage, lights, you name it. On the economic end, fine. From UTMB to the convention center, fine. But look at our neighborhoods. Look at the communities and what have you. So that's what we need to do since we have a coverage.
Thank you, sir. And now to our District 2 candidates. Mr. Brown, you'll get that first. 1 minute, please, sir.
All righty. I think that if the promise was made by City Council to lower taxes as the appraised values came up, I think that we need to look seriously at doing that. This is a public trust issue that we need to honor. Before we do this, to be good stewards of a city council member, I think we need to look at some areas of city management, though. We need to be more efficient, possibly, in some of the areas that we now have with city government. We have FEMA obligations coming up, and FEMA's changed the way they've done things, so that we need to possibly come up with more monies for that. And also, we have this commercial windstorm flood insurance issue that still is out there that is going to be an extra cost to the city. I think that we need to look at other forms of revenue for infrastructure in the cities, streets and things. This year they took $1 million out of the reserve fund. I think we need to look at taking more out of that possibly for this coming year. I would say I think we have the money. What we need to do now is add the personnel that can institute these.
Same question to you, Ms. Finewald. 1 minute.
I was on city council at the time, and I don't think we promised that. Some members of city council may have said they would vote to do that in the future, but not everybody did. But that's beside the point. The question really is, do we want to lower taxes? Or do we want to improve our infrastructure? We can't do both. We already have a lower tax rate than other cities like Friendswood and League City. We can't be making improvements to our infrastructure if we lower our tax rate even further.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Beatty, 1 minute for you, please, sir.
I think that when a governing body makes a promise to the people, that should do everything that it can to fulfill that promise. Having said that, I think that broadening our tax base is one approach that will yield a greater intake of taxes. And I'm speaking of property development, or the development of quality, affordable homes in areas of Galveston that's sorely needed. It would also enable us to retain some of those dollars that leave here every Friday, head to the mainland, if we can build substantially a number of quality, affordable homes. This and other things, bringing industry to Galveston, and there are ways that we could do this, including building that bridge to Pelican Island and developing our industrial base.
Thank you, sir. All right, and wrapping up this question, the District 3 candidates, Mr. McMorris, you get to go first. Do I need to repeat the question? Sure, no problem. After Hurricane Ike hit, the council raised the tax rate, but there was a promise to lower it when the tax base recovered. Figures show that for the most part, that tax base has recovered. What do you plan to do if elected?
Well, it's good to back clean up here because you hear everybody else's ideas. I'd almost Finewald raised the question that maybe that promise wasn't made, but if it was made, we need to start rebuilding the credibility of City Council. City Council voted for the comprehensive plan in 2011 and put it on the shelf and really hasn't followed it since then in every way it should. We do, and therefore I would agree that if that promise was made, it needs to be kept if the criteria are there. One way to improve our economics of the city is to look at all these different entities that generate revenue and spend revenue separately. I'd like to see the city make an overall view of the park board, the wharves board, utilities, and property taxes that come in. There's a lot of opportunity there to save money. When we subsidize developers, we're talking about giving $2 million
Time,
to a
sir.
developer.
Time, sir. And Ms. Marks.
Well, we've heard a lot of opinions about how to spend our money or not spend it. I think that when we develop our budgets, we go to public comment. You present the budget with the tax rate as it is, and you present it with a reduction. Then the people can comment and decide on what they're willing to pay for and what they're not. And so we need to be able to make informed decisions. Our citizenry is listening to us, but they need to know what's in that budget. I pay my bills every month based on the revenue I have coming in and the obligations I have going out. And if I don't have money at the end of the day, then I do without. So the city's going to have to do the same thing. We need to have public comment, and we need to have an informed public. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Marks. Candidates, thank you all for answering our questions tonight. Get prepared up now for your closing statements for 90 seconds. We are, as I said, wanting to wrap up about 7:30. It's 7:15 to get through everybody here. It'll be a little past that time. We had more than 75 questions submitted by readers, by the way, for this. Most of those, not all of them, will be on the questionnaires that we'll be releasing first of next week. You'll be getting an email from us on that to fill that out. There'll be a lot more questions plus some of these, so you get to refine your answer. Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Carlton. And so we will be having the questionnaires coming out next week. It'll have some of these questions plus a whole lot more from the readers. As I said, we had more than 75 questions come in from readers throughout the day. We wish we had enough time to get everyone in, but there's just way too many of y'all to keep here. We'd be here until 2 o'clock in the morning and just go through 5 questions. Anyway, one is a reminder to you folks, we are going to have this forum online at galvnews.com later tonight or first thing in the morning for you to be able to watch. And we'll be right after this forum, we will have our mayoral forum with the 4 candidates running for mayor. And they will be coming up similar format to go through this evening as well. If you would, before we get to our closing statements, give a hand again to our candidates, if you would. We will take a short break after they're finished with their closing statements, so please do not work out until everyone is finished up there. Concession stand is open from our theater group, raising some funds there, so do help them out. And I think all the candidates are already getting ready to pull their wallets out to go help them then. As I said, we will start in reverse order for the closing statement, so we'll start with Ms. Sinceri, move our way down here from 6 all the way down to 1 for Ms. Banks to finish up. And so 90 seconds for each of you. Again, the green light for your 90 seconds, 30 seconds left for the yellow, and the red, please wrap it up. And we'll start with you, Ms. Sinceri.
Thank you. I want to thank the Galveston Daily News, the Chamber of Commerce, Galveston Independent School District for allowing us this setting to come and have a forum to let the citizens hear what we have to say about upcoming issues and the election. As I said, I was born on the island. I live here. I work here. I'm a vice president at Southland Title. We have 3 of our 13 offices here on the island. I have more than 100 people that report to me in one way or another. I know how to deal with different personalities, with budget items. I have served on community boards. I have served on city boards. And I just want to bring a fresh approach to the government or the running of the government of the city, knowing that we have a council manager form of government. The city manager is the CEO of the city, and the council is there to set the policy and let him run the city. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, again, for giving us this opportunity. I'm Marie Robb, and I am the incumbent for District 6. Having started 2 businesses on this island, I have been a small business owner for 16 years. but I come to the table with 39 years of business experience, having spent 23 plus years in the corporate world. Living full-time in District 6 for 18 years, I am dedicated to improving and enhancing the infrastructure, including sewers, well-awaited streets, and water resources in my district as well as on the island. This will make our neighborhoods better. We must attract residential growth, and we can do this by enhancing our neighborhoods with improved infrastructure. Who here doesn't want their street paved? We must provide you, the taxpayers, with fiscal transparency and transparency with our government. I have fought hard for this because you need to be aware of what's going on with your tax dollars. I support business growth that builds diversity with our tax base, and in growing our property tax base, we can lower our taxes. Thank you.
Hello, again, I'm Terrell Tarleton. I'm your city council rep as we speak, and I've worked very, very hard. I got off and I found what our needs were neighborhood improvements. I went out and I put the neighborhood improvement fund immediately in our general fund budget line. It's there from here on out. I went and I sought $1.2 million to put in that fund so that we can go into each one of our neighborhoods and start fixing up those neighborhoods and bringing them back. I challenged the flood maps. On the eve of the last day of the flood maps, we challenged those maps because I insisted on it. In my district, Denver Court, Fort Crockett, Adler Circle, you would no longer have been a preferred zone. You would have been in a special flood hazard. Channelview, you would have gone up 3 feet. And this was happening citywide, by the way. Titeman would have gone from an AE zone to a VE zone. All of that area, all their downstairs would have been non-compliant. That's because of my background in insurance. I was able to bring that to the table. Now, while this city slept, bigger waters hit us, and it hit us hard. But you know what? We're going to never let that happen again because we got some reform, right? All we have to do is wait for the president to sign it, but we can't sleep then either. We have to get up, fight right now, get the community rating system in place so that everyone on this island can save 45%. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, I'm Diana Bertini, and like I said earlier, I'm over a 20-year lawyer. I'm a mediator, and I am a former assistant city attorney and a former DA. And in my business, I have to find solutions. I solve problems. I bring people together. I know how to bring teamwork into progress, and that's why I'm here. The city isn't making any progress. We need to go forward. And one of the things that concerns me why I'm here is, I want my children to want to live here. And I want the people that drive over here every day to work here, I want them to want to live here. And that's why I'm here. I want to thank our hosts. I want to thank you for being here. And I know you're here for the same reason I'm here, because I care. And I have nothing on my agenda except the betterment of Galveston. There's nothing that I can vote on that conflicts or in any way enhances what I do for a living. And so, just so you know, I'll be serving you and me. Thank you.
Thanks again to the news and to the Chamber of Commerce and to the school district for hosting this event. And thank all of you for taking time to come. As a community, we'll be making a fair amount of significant decisions in the next few years, and one of the first ones is going to be made by y'all when you decide who it is that's going to be sitting on council. And I think there are several key components that need to be a part of the makeup of that council. First, I think that we need to quit wasting time and money debating dead issues and move on and start dealing with the needs that we have with water and sewer and streets and traffic and thoroughfare improvements. Second, I think we need to do the people's business in front of the people, open meetings and open business. Third, I think we need to develop and utilize our resources better to make sure that we actually have a future. Fourth, we need to engage the next generation of island residents in city issues and government because they are the future. Fifth, we need to be fiscally responsible and develop a long-term capital improvement plan to address all of the infrastructure needs which we've ignored. And finally, I think promises made need to be promises kept. I'm David Hoover, and I would appreciate your support.
My name is Norman Papoose. I'm the incumbent for District 4, and I couldn't agree more with Mr. Hoover. Promises made should be promises kept. And if you look at my push card out front, I list everything that I promised when I ran. And I either got it accomplished or I fought my guts out and lost in a 4-3 vote. So I have a record of keeping the promises I make. And for the next 2 years, the first promise I'm going to make to you is we are going to get substantially, if not completely, through recovery. I believe that now outsourcing the recovery tasks and the infrastructure that's going along with that is the fastest way to that deadline. Secondly, I want to work to get middle-income families back on the island and the ones that are here more prosperous. That means lowering your taxes. You have to have lower taxes because nobody is going to move here with the flood insurance numbers we have, with the TWI insurance costs we have, and on top of it, we're going to burden you with an excessive tax rate. So we need to bring taxes down. We've already identified where we can do that. We just need people on council willing to raise their hand to give you that tax break. And lastly, we have to maximize our ace in the hole, and that's the port. And we really need to get moving on that. There are things going on right now with the port that are going to be large improvements, but I also know that there are problems with the contract that have to be addressed. And I believe in my experience, I'm best positioned to make that happen and for your benefit.
I'm Ralph McMorris, and running for District 3. I moved here to the island in 2001, purchased the old Purity Ice Cream Factory to build my cocktail mix business from scratch. We built that up, and in 2008, as y'all all know, Hurricane Ike came through, went right over our plant, and pretty much wiped us out. But we started over again, and now I'm pleased to say that it's doing better than it ever has, and given me the time to move over and spend even more time working for the community. For the last 10 years, I've had leadership positions in the neighborhoods, first the East End, and then I was president of the GAIN organization, Galveston Alliance of Island Neighborhoods. Learned quite a bit about all the neighborhoods here on the island, what our needs are, and what we've tried to do. And that's why I'm running for council, because that's where the buck stops and where the decisions are made. Galveston is a wonderful place and has so much opportunity to become a world-class place for people to live, work, and play. And I know this can happen. It's happened in other places I've lived, and I'd love to contribute to that here on the island. I got experience in Atlanta many years ago where the business and neighborhood people got together. I actually represented business at that time, and we solved problems at the grassroots level. Thank you.
Well, thank you for staying so long to listen to all of us. Thank you to the Daily News. Thank you for submitting the questions. I think they were really good, and I appreciate that. My goals are to have a strong city manager. I think that is our job one. I think we need to complete the infrastructure projects that were promised. There's FEMA money left. There's city jobs that need to be done. We need to become a FEMA eligible city. Right now we're not listed. We haven't completed the application process. we need to then implement all of the programs that FEMA offers to continue to reduce our flood insurance. I'm Kate Marks. I am blessed to live in District 3, where our rich architectural history coexists with the innovative world of world-class medical facilities and a university. We're home to 3 of the city's major economic drivers: tourism, cutting-edge technology, and our port. We need to leverage those to help our city grow and help build that economic engines. I'm a trained professional to be independent, a critical thinker, and I'm well qualified to hold this position. I sit on the board. Sorry. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank Galveston Daily News for this opportunity to discuss some of Galveston's problems with you. I'd like to thank you for showing up. Shows that you are very interested in your choices for the city council and the mayor's race here in Galveston. Richard Beatty, political science major, Prairie View University, Juris Doctorate program at Texas Southern University School of Law, Phi Alpha Delta Law Fraternity. City administrator to 13 projects in Houston, businessman, High John Office Furniture and Office Supply in Houston. 28 years with the state of California as a consultant to 58 California counties. Landmark commissioner, court-appointed special advocate for children and elderly abuse. As you have heard, a lot of Galveston has similar problems relative to infrastructure problems in the neighborhood and our slow recovery from Hurricane Ike. We must complete that recovery before we can move on. We need quality, affordable homes to broaden our tax base. We need living wage jobs here in Galveston if we're going to raise this ship of Galveston. You've heard that many problems that need to be addressed this evening. Thank you.
Those of you who remember when I was on council before know that I'm a reasoned, fair, straightforward council member. I stated my reasons for something and I voted accordingly. I didn't hold a grudge, I didn't nitpick. But it's hard for you to appreciate the various candidates in a forum like this. So if you're here or you're watching it on the internet, you're probably Daily News subscribers. And I encourage you to go to their the search option on their webpage, and search and see what has been written in the paper about us or what we've written as guest columns in the paper. Many of us have a history, and you can look and see how in the past did we interact with our community and support with this project or that project. Don't take our 30-second, it's easy to say, infrastructure, neighborhoods, but go and see what it is in the paper. Look and see what our record is and base your vote on that.
I'd like to thank everyone here tonight. I'd like to thank the Galveston Daily News, the Chamber, and the school district for having this forum. I've learned a lot. I'm learning a lot tonight from the questions and from the candidates' responses. I've been walking in my district for quite a while now and talking to the neighbors, and I've been learning a lot from them. What I'm learning is that there's a lot of people out there that are tired. They're tired of watching that dilapidated home across the street sit there for the last 2 or 3 years. They're tired of trying to park their cars in a way that they won't be flooded if heavy rains come. They're tired of having potholes in the streets. And what I'm personally tired of, I'm tired of hearing that Galveston is a diamond in the rough. I think that Galveston needs to be the polished jewel that it can be. We have many wonderful economic centers on our island. We have the port, we have UTMB, we have a lot of these economic centers, but the neighborhoods are one of our main economic centers for our island. and we need to put emphasis on those neighborhoods, and that, if I'm elected, I will do. I'm honored to run with these other candidates that are here tonight in District 2, and if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I want you to know that I will work as hard as I possibly can to make this island the best that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. As I stated earlier, my name is Taurus Woods, and I'm a candidate for City Council of District 1. First, I would like to thank the Galveston Daily News Chamber for putting on this forum. I also would like to once again thank you for coming out to showing your support and love for the city of Galveston. I feel like that the number one issue that we as a council should address is to try to build our population back up. We have fallen down to somewhere around 44,000. Therefore, we are losing a lot with a capital L of federal and state fund being below that 50,000 margin. I also would like for you to know that I support economic development, and especially on the north side of Broadway, going all the way to Pelican Island, the Pelican Bridge. I support the Ike Dike. Also, I feel that one of the things we need to do, we need to set a better relationship with our federal and state government. Galveston needs to work with its federal and state government. We need to do that. I also support a minimum wage for all Galveston City employees of $10.10 an hour. And I'm going to ask you for your vote as the next representative of District 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taurus. Thank you to our host and to you, the citizens, for attending. I've asked you before, and you banked on banks. I've asked you before, and you elected me to promote and provide a better community. Now I ask you to re-elect Cornelia Harris Banks, an exceptional candidate with experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all candidates. Thank you all for coming out today. Reminder to everybody, special thanks to our folks here today. Bill Nealon, the Theater Arts Director here at Ball High School. Please give him a hand and remind you, Sunday, 5 o'clock here of Mice and Men, the production will be going on, and also Principal Joseph Pellar. Thank you, Joe. I really do appreciate all your staff coming out here today. And then also the staff here, Joe Aguilar and Daniel Sanchez, who put up with me most of the day, complaining about the purple and gold clashing with the red, but that's all right. We got over that. Eric Mueller, and then also the Ball High Media Technician, and then Melissa Reckoff of the Ball High Media Department. Also, Johnston Farrell did not put his own name on here, but I wanted to thank him, too, the PIO for the school district. Thank you all. In about 10, 15 minutes, we'll have the mayoral forum. Thank you all very much.